in a breathless chase through the darkness of the deep forest. Jack thought he only needed to overcome the dangerous terrain. But what he didn't expect was what stabbed him in the back, not the claws of the villain, but the badge of the man he once called an ally. When Mr. Bay, the mastermind behind Tu Qian's identity swap, reappeared, Jack and the police seemed to be on the same side. But then, everything took a terrifying turn: a secret phone call, an evasive look, and a gunshot that knocked Jack down by the edge of the forest, leaving behind not only injuries, but also a cruel betrayal. Why did some people in the police force deliberately delay arresting Mr. Bay? Was someone covering up? And most importantly, will Jack's life be safe when justice is being twisted in the dark? The following story will make you ask yourself, where is true justice, and when evil is protected by uniform? Who will stand up to expose the truth? Jack had thought that as long as he was brave enough to pursue the truth, justice would eventually be on his side. But that night, in the deep, dark forest, he realized that sometimes the one wearing the badge was the one holding the rope. He was led into a perfect trap. Lieutenant Lamb, who had supported him from the beginning of the investigation, suddenly called and said, "There are traces of Mr. Bay near the stream behind the farm. If you want to catch him, you have to act now." Without hesitation, Jack rushed out in the middle of the night. But when he arrived, he only saw fake footprints leading deep into the forest. Everything happened too quickly. A vine that was stretched across him tripped him, causing an iron net to spring up and wrap around his leg. He fell into a pre-dug hole. The mud mixed with broken pottery tore his back. Blood oozed out in cold streaks. He struggled, but could not escape. The sound of footsteps echoed. Jack raised his head, thinking it was rescuers. But no, Lieutenant Lamb stood there, the flashlight beam shining straight into his eyes, holding a loaded gun. "Sorry, Jack, you're too smart, and you know too much." Behind him, another figure stepped out. It was Mr. Bay. The man who had disappeared after the fire at the orphanage had reappeared. His eyes cold and his smile twisted like someone who had just returned from hell. "Young man, do you think it's easy to play justice? This world doesn't need people who know the truth too well." Jack gritted his teeth, silently pulling out a small knife from his shoe, cutting each loop of wire. He knew, if he had been a second slower, he would have disappeared from this world, just like so many others who had lost their way in the darkness of buried secrets. Jack clenched the small knife hidden in his hand, his eyes still fixed on the two men standing above him. Under the cold mud, he had almost cut off the ends of the steel wire. His whole body ached, but anger and betrayal made his heart burn. There was only one chance left. The story of the past will eventually be exposed. Jack whispered, his eyes no longer trembling but becoming cold. Mr. Bay sneered, "Little brat, you won't live to tell the story." At that moment, Jack stomped on the edge of the hole, using all his remaining strength to push himself out of the trap. Rushing straight towards Lieutenant Lamb, stabbing his bicep, causing the gun to fall. Jack grabbed the flashlight on the ground, hitting his opponent's knee hard. Lieutenant Lamb stepped back, staggering. Mr. Bay was startled, pulled out a short knife from his shirt, and rushed forward. Jack dodged the first blow, but was slashed on the shoulder. In excruciating pain, he slid to the ground, using his foot to sweep Mr. Bay down. Without waiting any longer, Jack picked up the gun from the ground, turned around and pointed it straight at both of them. Not another step. "It's over." Both Lieutenant Lamb and Mr. Bay stood still, not because they were afraid of the gun, but because of the sound of police sirens wailing in the distance. Headlights flashed behind the trees. Reinforcements had arrived. Lieutenant Lamb cursed under his breath, knowing that things were getting out of control. Jack stepped back towards the light, gun still pointed straight at him. "I will hand you over to justice. But this time, real justice." The police siren wailed loudly in the forest, the headlights flashing through the dense trees. Jack was breathing heavily, his shoulder still aching, the gun in his hand aimed straight at the two traitors. But just when he thought everything was over, Lieutenant Lamb suddenly threw a small object to the ground. "Back off," Jack shouted. A small explosion rang out. Smoke billowed from the smoke grenade. The pungent smell made Jack cough. his eyes blurred. In the chaos, Lieutenant Lamb's figure rushed towards the dense forest, followed by Mr. Bay, an old man who was used to living in the dark, hiding like a weasel through each patch of trees. "Stop, southwest," Jack shouted, but before the reinforcements could get close, the smoke had already reduced visibility sharply. Lieutenant Lamb, running, speaking through gritted teeth, "There is only one way out through the cave. After that, I'll disappear. You take care of the rest." Mr. Bay, low, dangerous voice, "I'm not running. I'll come back when everything is quiet. As for Jack, I'll be the one to finish him off. Blank, underscore, blank." In the distance, Jack tried to chase after him, but a policeman pulled him back. Worried, "You're injured, let the special forces handle it." Jack gritted his teeth, looking in the direction of the gradually clearing smoke. On the ground, Lieutenant Lamb's police badge fell, stained with mud and blood. He bent down and picked it up. "They think they can hide forever. I won't stop, whether it's Mr. Bay or the person in uniform." On Jack's face at this moment, there was no longer just anger, but also determination to the end. The fight now was not only to protect Tu Tien, but to expose the entire system that was covering up the crimes of the past. After Jack was attacked in the forest and the two masterminds, Mr. Bay and Lieutenant Lamb, unexpectedly escaped, Tu Tien was immediately taken to a place called Safe House. It was a wooden house isolated among the endless tea hills on the edge of town. Arranged by the police, they said that the place was quiet and private enough to protect an important witness like her, the one who held the key link in the case related to the Thiem Tam orphanage in the past, and also her own stolen past. The house lay quietly in the dark green of the pine forest, surrounded by only a few abandoned huts, as if someone had once lived there and then mysteriously disappeared. The atmosphere here was suspiciously quiet, every sound of the wind blowing through the cracks of the door. The sound of leaves falling on the tiled roof sounded like a whisper of the past. Tu Tien sat by the large window, holding a cup of steaming tea. Her eyes were red, her gaze distant as she recalled the moment Jack was injured, his shirt soaked with blood, being carried away in the chaotic darkness. She whispered softly, as if talking to herself. Why did everything return to the same place it started? But that so-called safe place, after only 2 days, began to reveal something unusual. That night, around 2 a.m., she was awakened by a small rattling sound from the kitchen. Her heart was pounding. She walked very lightly down the wooden hallway. The shadows of the trees were tilted outside the window. The moon was faintly shining through the frosted glass. Suddenly, swish, the curtain flew up. The window opened slightly, even though she had clearly closed it carefully last night. On the wooden frame was a fresh scratch, like someone's fingernails had dug in. The next morning, when she recounted the incident, the police officer on duty just smiled faintly and said, "It must have been a stray cat. There are a lot of wild cats in this area." But in the depths of his eyes, Tu Tien saw something very strange. A moment of hesitation, as if he had just hidden something but did not dare to say it. That night, she checked the security cameras on the porch. All had been cut off at 1:43 a.m. And then, when she turned on her phone, something that made her shiver appeared, 3 missed calls from an unknown number at 2 a.m. And with that, just one text message. "Don't trust anyone in that house. They are not protecting you. They are waiting for someone to come pick you up."
Từ Tiên ngồi bên khung cửa sổ lớn, tay ôm tách trà còn nghi ngút khói, mắt cô hoe đỏ, ánh nhìn xa xăm. Khi nhớ lại khoảnh khắc sắc bị thương, máu ướt đẫm vai áo, được cáng đi giữa bóng đêm hỗn loạn, cô khẽ thì thầm hư như nói với chính mình. Tại sao tất cả lại quay về đúng nơi bắt đầu, nhưng nơi gọi là an toàn ấy chỉ sau 2 ngày bắt đầu lộ ra điều gì đó bất thường. Đêm đó khoảng 2 giờ sáng, cô chợt tỉnh giấc. Bóng cây nghiêng nghiêng ngoài cửa sổ, trăng mở chiếu qua lớp kính đọng sương.